Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and Timpool. Let's be honest, we gotta criticize the guy. He is great at what he does when it comes to talking about politics. That being said, when it comes to general pop culture and the culture war, as some call it, I don't think the dude really knows what he's talking about. I think his nerd cred is a little bit fake. And I say that semi-in jest. I mean, he talks about Magic the Gathering, seems to know what he's talking about, but his recent review of the Mario film, which I have not watched yet, we're going to be doing that together, is titled Conservatives Are Wrong, Mario is Woke, Peach is a Girl Boss, all the buzzwords, you know. And here's the thing, Timmy. I'm going to react to this because you could just be doing a clickbait article, but I have a feeling these are your actual thoughts, and I'm here to very much try and dismantle those if that is what is being presented in your video. But again, I haven't seen it. I could be totally wrong. Let's take a look at it together and see if Beanie Boy is as smart as he thinks he is.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie has smashed a global record. And I'm seeing all of these people on the right saying the movie did it because it was anti-woke, which is...
Some conservatives may be saying this, sure, it's entirely possible, but the vast majority of individuals, like myself, are not looking at this through a cultural lens, through a political lens, because that's not how normal people do things. I love politics. I'm a pretty political type of guy. Not exactly every video on my channel would lead you to believe that, but I quite enjoy politics and think that it has a very large place in nerd culture. That being said, the vast majority of political people and non-political people are not saying this. Steven Crowder is, we have this tweet highlighted, but it is not anti-woke. People, most of us, are going about talking about how it's not anti-woke or woke. It is just a movie. It is made to entertain, and it does that job. It gives you non-political escapism in either direction. Let's not forget, this is mostly a Japanese production. I don't really think the Japanese care too much for our politics here in the West. Let's continue.
Which is really strange to me because the narrative for the longest time was that the movie was woke girl boss feminism garbage. Ahoy, my friends, there be spoilers ahead because I went and saw the movie, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. What?
Alright, so for those of you guys watching this that have not seen the Mario movie, I'd recommend maybe not watching this video as much as I hate to say it, but yeah, apparently there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to try and dismantle those spoilers, so maybe go see the movie, then come back and watch your boy destroy Beanie Man here. Alright, let's continue.
When I saw this tweet from Steven Crowder, he says, the anti-woke Super Mario Bros. Movie just set a global record. I thought to myself, I don't believe Steven Crowder has actually seen the movie. And when I saw this tweet, I thought to myself, well, the first thing I thought was, is it really anti-woke? Well, it's weird because all I've heard about it is that it is woke, right?
There was this narrative prior to the film coming out that it possibly had some woke elements to it with Peach. Most people flat out dismantled that before the movie even released because it's very easy to explain why Peach is a powerhouse character because she's a fighter. She is not just a damsel in distress character. But yes, there was some hesitance from individuals, myself included. They were like, man, Hollywood could do what Hollywood normally does and Ray Palpatine this chick. That being said, no one before the movie came out was calling it woke. So I'm not sure where he's getting this narrative that people were saying that. Maybe he's running with the false narrative that was perpetuated about Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. There was a bunch of stuff going about how he was calling the movie woke, which was the opposite. He was stating that he doesn't think it's going to be, but of course, you know how people hate Geeks and Gamers, hate the fandom menace, hate Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. So they were completely twisting his argument. He was a defender of this movie and a defender of Strong Peach, effectively from the get-go, ever since the second trailer. So maybe Tim is just too worried with what the left was accusing the right of. But again, this shouldn't be about left and right. It's a Mario movie about a Japanese property.
Perhaps the issue is conservatives don't want to admit that a woke film made a bunch of money, especially broke a record, when the narrative tends to be get woke, go broke. Well, as I often say, get woke, go broke is not a law, but it's more of a tendency. And when you're dealing with one of the most popular pieces of intellectual property in human history, Mario Brothers, it's bound to make a bunch of money. So here's what I did. I went to go see the movie because I think it is particularly culturally relevant. Now, to be honest, I didn't really want to see the movie.
I'll agree with him there, by the way. I do think this is a culturally relevant movie. Not for any political reasoning, but more for a cultural and societal reasoning. I think this movie is culturally relevant because superhero movies have dominated the box office the last 10 years, and let's be honest, this is an incredibly tired shtick. I think that Disney has dominated the global box office for, well, I mean, God, ever since Disney was a thing, or at least has been dominating the box office since its resurgence in the 90s after some dark periods in the 70s and 80s. I think it is time that the king king be dethroned, especially when you're shoving a bunch of political and societal messages in your films that should just be to entertain. I think there's no place for that in movies. So yes, I do think this is incredibly culturally significant, but not necessarily from a political standpoint, more from a people who like to consume media are getting tired of the laziness and sameness of what we've gotten for the past at least 8 years, if not more.
A little bit. I like Mario. I grew up playing Mario. I'm interested in seeing how they could do this movie, considering back in the 90s they made some weird movie. So, warning, spoilers. But I'll just say it right now. After going and watching the movie, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how woke the movie is, I'd give it a 6.
All right, well, we obviously know he is going to call it woke. It was not a clickbait title. He is incredibly incorrect as somebody whose channel spends a lot of time dismantling wokeness, and I spend just as much time dismantling things that are perceived as woke when they are not. You see, Tim fancies himself a milquetoast fence sitter, doesn't really have an allegiance to either side, and maybe that is true. I fall in that same camp. I am a firmly down the middle type of individual, as I tell you guys all the time. So I feel like it is very easy to get wrapped up in the culture war, get wrapped up in, oh, this is woke, oh, this isn't. But Tim fancies himself a milquetoast fence sitter. If that is the case, he should be able to sit back and just appreciate a movie that does not have an agenda, which I can definitely assure you guys, I have seen it. This movie does not have, but he is too stuck in this political mindset. I think his job and living on the internet has consumed him to look for things that are not there because, let's be honest, that is his bread and butter. That is how he makes money. So let's continue, but I can already tell you he's going to call this movie woke. He just said it is a 6 out of 10 on the wokeness scale, and I will absolutely tell you he is incorrect. Let's see what he says, and let's drag that argument through the mud.
I'd give it a 6, meaning it's fairly woke. Right? It is in line with what you'd expect from feminist, leftist perspectives in movie writing. That is to say, and I'll give you, I'm going to go into an in-depth review of the movie, but I'll show you the news first and the context of this in terms of the culture war. The film is basically, girl boss, Mario's stupid, Luigi's in a cage the whole time, Mario's completely incompetent, and it's only because of Peach's great leadership that anything actually happens.
Alright, you know what? He's entirely wrong. That is not what the movie is. Let's wind this back for a sec. I'm going to pause after everything he says and just criticize in the moment, and we'll go from there.
Basically, girl boss.
Peach is not a girl boss. She is a strong female character, but she's a well-written, strong female character. In my review, I said she was kind of a girl boss, and I guess I mean that as a positive. So she is a girl boss if you mean it as a positive. He's using it as a pejorative. She is not a girl boss in that she's a Mary Sue. She's a girl boss in that she is a bad bitch, and you know what? It works for Peach. So she is not what the right wing or the anti-woke crowd traditionally claims is a girl boss, but there are some girl boss elements there that do work. Girl boss is not inherently bad.
Mario's stupid.
Mario is not stupid. In fact, Mario goes through the traditional hero's journey, no different than what Luke Skywalker goes through. Luke was not exactly a prodigy. You know, Luke did not get the blast shield with his eyes down and deflect the lasers with a lightsaber correctly on the first time. He had to be taught. Mario's the same way. This is a fish out of water hero's journey. He's a stranger in a strange land. He's not an idiot. He has to learn the rules of this new world, which he actually does fairly quickly. So I'm not quite sure what he means by Mario is stupid. Mario is not stupid. He is ignorant to the new world he's in, and he catches on and learns and thrives in this world.
Luigi's in a cage the whole time.
That is fair. Luigi's in a cage through much of the movie, but you know what? Luigi is a coward. This is pure in-character writing. Luigi is very frequently shown as a coward, as less competent than his more confident brother Mario. Once again, this is in character.
Mario's completely incompetent.
Again, Mario's not incompetent. When you call him dumb earlier and then you say, oh, he's incompetent, dumb people are incompetent. Now you're just saying the same thing twice with different words in an effort to make yourself more intelligent. No, that ain't how it works. Mario is not incompetent. Again, he's a stranger in a strange land. He's a fish out of water. And he has to learn the rules of the world to figure out how this new world he's in works. And guess what? He does a good job at it. Mario is the hero of this story. Let us continue.
And it's only because of Peach's great leadership that anything actually happens.
Once again, wrong. It is not because of Peach's great leadership. In fact, you know what? Since he's going to go into spoilers, I will as well. Peach's leadership fails. Peach goes to the Kong Kingdom, where Donkey Kong and all of his brethren live, to ask for their help to get an army together, and she is told no. The Kongs tell her, screw off, we don't want your help, we don't need you here, and Mario is the one that steps up and says, we're getting that army, because he is going to save his brother. That's a good family dynamic. He is a hero. He's not willing to say, to take no for an answer. And he's like, no, we're going to get your army. And the Kongs are like, fine, best our greatest warrior in one-on-one combat, and you can have the army. It's all Mario. Peach isn't necessarily an incompetent leader, but she's not immediately perfect. Her leadership is not what saves everyone. She fails. And because she fails, she has to run back to the Mushroom Kingdom, tail between her legs, and evacuate all the toads. She couldn't save her people. I don't know what Tim is on about.
In fact, there's a point in the movie where Peach literally says Mario is nobody, and they cheer.
Yes, Peach does say that. It is a joke. Mario is not from this world. All the toads ask who he is because all of a sudden some dude is palling around with the princess. So she says he's nobody because the toads aren't going to know him. She doesn't need to go on this diatribe about where Mario came from. She's trying to leave to go to the Kong land. That was not a woke joke. That wasn't a men are trash, I'm your princess joke. It's played for laughs for a moment and then moves on. I've seen some feminist comedies out there. Well, really there's no such thing as feminist comedy because they all fall flat on their face. But I've seen stand-up comedians and feminist films attempt to be comedy. Let me tell you, they don't land. This joke, it lands.
Like, simply put, Mario breaks into the palace, then Princess Peach is like, you're a human, but you're so small. And I'm like, well, that's like, what would you call that, little person phobic? But anyway,
That's, Mario is short. That's kind of a thing. Watch the old 80s Mario show. Mario is shorter than everybody but Toad. He's shorter than Peach. He's shorter than Luigi. Like, yeah, Peach is like, you're a human, but you're small. She's never seen another human before, but she's seen plenty of other Toads. She knows Mario ain't a Toad. She knows Mario looks like him, so she's in a state of confusion. It's not like she's making fun of him for his size. Now, there are a couple jokes at Mario's height, at the expense of Mario's height, and you know what? That's fine. Just because you're making jokes at someone's height, whatever. Peach is not being woke in, making a joke or a question about Mario's size just because he's short. She's never seen another human before, so there's some questions going on in her mind. In fact, the movie does this thing where it full-on slow-mos when Peach sees Mario's eyes for the first time, and like a love-at-first-sight thing. A girl immediately falling in love with a man the moment they see one another. That's pretty much the opposite of the progressive wokeness that conservatives are always throwing a fit about. But this movie does it.
Then when she says we're going to fight Bowser, which is a totally unrelated story to Mario, and I'll go through this in depth after I read this.
It's not an unrelated story to Mario. Mario has already been told that where Luigi ended up, because Luigi and Mario get separated, is in the Badlands that Bowser has control over. So Peach is like, yeah, we're going to go fight Bowser, because Bowser most likely has your brother. If you're wanting to save your brother, we're going to have to beat Bowser to do so. Because they're operating under the assumption that Luigi has been captured since he was, sent to the Badlands. It's not unrelated.
Everyone's like, who's that guy? And she goes, nobody. And they go, yay. And it's like, hold on. Wait, what? Like, even with Luke Skywalker, his story matters.
Okay, good. He's going to bring up Luke Skywalker. Because I said earlier, this is a traditional hero's journey story, and I use Luke Skywalker as the example. So let's see what he has to say here. Because I guarantee you that I probably know a bit more about Star Wars than Tim does here, than Timmy Pool. Because let's be honest, while Tim probably has seen Star Wars, homeboy doesn't have EU novels sitting behind him. Your boy Leon does. So let's see how this Star Wars comparison works out, because I bet he's going to be wrong and completely flub some stuff. But I could be. I could be the one who's just jumping to judge, and maybe that's wrong of me. Maybe Tim makes a good point. I doubt it. Let's see.
The hero's journey matters. In this movie, Mario doesn't matter at all.
Yep, okay, Andy's wrong. I mean, yeah, Luke's journey, of course, matters, but Mario's journey absolutely matters. The heart of this movie is Mario's journey. Yes, Peach is there too. Yes, Peach's journey also matters, but it's called the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Mario is the focus. This absolutely is Mario's journey. The stranger in a strange land, as I've said multiple times, who has to learn the rules of this land to understand it, to have a hope in hell at getting his brother back. This is absolutely a hero's journey where Mario is the focus.
The story is about Princess Peach. I think she gets half of the screen time about. And Mario's story in this is ancillary to the main plot, which follows Princess Peach. Now,
No, that once again that is the main plot. The main plot is Mario wants to save his brother. That plot ties in to an overarching plot of the Mushroom Kingdom is going to be under attack by Bowser. So while there is a grander story in this film that does get relatively fleshed out, it is not the main story.
first, let's talk about the culture war and why the story matters, and then I'll talk to you in depth about the movie. Huffington Post writes, some right-wingers claim Super Mario Bros. Movie's success is because it's anti-woke. The movie had the biggest box office opening of 2023, and some conservatives think they know why. And they go to mention that it made a bunch of money.
I'm going to throw this out here. I don't have any sort of criticism here. I don't think conservatives know why, or at least, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But at the end of the day, if the conservatives are claiming it's because it's anti-woke, those conservatives are wrong, nor is it woke. It's pure escapism. The reason it's making a bunch of money, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, whatever, the reason it's making a bunch of money is because it is a Mario movie. Mario is a multi-generational icon, which means it has a very, very large, very age differentiating. Everyone from their 60s to their 6s are gonna know Mario. You have a wide swath of fans and a global audience. And this movie respects the source material. It is that simple. Word of mouth is how movies travel. Top Gun Maverick, by no accounts, should have made over $1 billion. This was a sequel to an 80s movie that had more or less long been forgotten. But word of mouth propelled this movie because it wasn't woke. That being said, Mario is a little bit different. Mario has a far, far larger and greater audience than something like Top Gun. So it's going to have word of mouth, not because it's anti-woke, but because it respects what everyone knows and loves about a hero that's been a household name for 40 years.
John Leguizamo is pissed off because they cast white actors to play white characters. Okay. He said they didn't include any Latin character. Oh, bro, we get it. You want to be Luigi. Well, here's Charlie Kirk.
He's right there.
Charlie Kirk says Mario Bros. Just grossed $377 million, a new record for animated features, despite John Leguizamo, I think it's Leguizamo, boycotting the film because it messed up the inclusion, casting two white men, Chris Pratt and Charlie Day, as the Italian-American leads. Nintendo refused to let Mario Bros. Go woke. Incorrect. Just outright incorrect.
No. Absolutely correct. Nintendo did refuse to let Mario Bros. Go woke. They just didn't go out of their way to be anti-woke. And therein lies the difference. Nintendo is a company that is famously protective of its IPs. It will shut down streamers and YouTubers, and it will remove ROMs, GameCube ROMs, from the internet, even though these ROMs are not hurting Nintendo's bottom line. Nintendo is so restrictive of its IP use. Nintendo does not license out its characters hardly ever. Nintendo has not made movies hardly ever, because they are beyond restrictive and protective of their IPs. Yes, Nintendo absolutely refused to let this film be woke. And Nintendo has a history, a long and varied history, of refusing to let anything without their approval influence their IPs, be it Mario, Zelda, Star Fox, you name it, Pokemon. Tell me, has there ever been a woke Pokemon movie? I remember when I went to the movie theaters to see Detective Pikachu. That was also Nintendo. I didn't exactly get any woke vibes from it. So no, Charlie Kirk is entirely correct. Nintendo did refuse to let Mario go woke. That does not mean they set out to be anti-woke. Apparently some conservatives are claiming that. But Tim is incredibly incorrect here, and it goes to show he knows nothing about what he is talking about. He does not know about Nintendo as a company. He does not know about Nintendo's history as a corporation. He does not know about the video game IP usage, or lack thereof, in many cases. He's only looking at this through a political lens, and I'm sorry, sometimes, while I get he is good at that, I will give credit to Timmy here that he's great at looking at things politically. Not everything is about politics. Politics are not necessarily injected into every facet of every being, of every piece of entertainment. It just isn't how the world works.
I don't think Charlie saw the movie. And again, when I saw this, I was like, I didn't believe it. But I didn't see the movie, so I was like, well, I'm not going to comment. And then I went and saw the movie, and now I'm like, okay, these people are all wrong. Jack Besobic, Charlie Kirk, Crowder, all wrong. Others piled on. Jack Besobic says, the original creator of Mario, Miyamoto, was heavily involved with the production of the animated film and insisted that it have as little plot as possible and just feel like one of the games.
So far, what Jack Besobic, somebody I am not a fan of, by the way, mind you, has said here is entirely correct. So even though I'm not a fan of Jack Besobic, I'll agree with him here because he's just speaking facts, and you gotta respect facts because you can't argue with them. This is true about Miyamoto. This is true about the plot, what little there is to be had, although I think that's a good thing, about Mario. It has no woke narratives, and all the characters are exactly like the original games. That is a factually accurate statement, and that's coming from Jack Besobic, someone that has a loathing for nerd culture and is very anti-video games and escapist nerdy mediums.
It has no woke narratives, and all the characters are exactly like the original games. Not true at all.
It is absolutely
literally
true.
At all. Now, you can make the argument they adapted it to the best of their abilities to be in line with, considering the video games have limited narrative as it is, you could argue it makes sense, but I'm going to argue it doesn't, and I'll explain after I show you more. The Liz variant, I'm not familiar, says, it's hard to find movies to see with kids that aren't woke and full of brainwashing trash. Super Mario Brothers was good. Now look, I'm not saying the movie was bad. Not by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I laughed quite a bit. I did roll my eyes at the woke stuff that was in it, and I'll put it this way. I have seen movies described as woke that were substantially less woke than this.
Well, considering this movie isn't woke, no you haven't, because this movie is not a woke film. So you're wrong. Once again, you're taking your job too seriously. You're looking for politics and everything. It ain't there, man. It ain't there. It's cool. You can move on with your life. It's a Mario movie that ain't woke. There are other films you can attack. We got Evil Dead Rise coming out. I'm actually more worried about the wokeness in Evil Dead Rise, despite being a massive Evil Dead fan, than I am about the non-existent woke stuff in Mario Bros.
The stir left some people confused, and this is why I think this segment matters in the context of the culture war. One person said, wait, stop, hold on, now Super Mario Bros. Isn't woke? Weren't these chuds marching up and down declaring it was woke trash because Princess Peach was shown to be competent? Competent is an understatement as to what that movie did. Princess Peach was invincible, a kung fu master with superpowers.
Princess Peach was not invincible. In fact, she gets knocked unconscious near the climax of the movie for a part of it. If not unconscious, she at least gets the power knocked out of her because of the the power-ups in Mario Bros. And is unable to save Luigi and stop Bowser. Again, because Mario's the hero and Mario does it. Peach also fails to save Toad at one point in the film, and Bowser's like, yeah, I will kill him unless you marry me. And Peach is like, alright, I'm gonna marry you. She doesn't try and fight back, she just resigns herself. Now granted, she has a backup plan, but said backup plan fails later in the movie. So that is at least twice where she is absolutely defeated. 3, if you count the fact that she has to retreat from the Kong world back to the Mushroom Kingdom, once again, to tell her people to evacuate because she has failed. Princess Peach is competent. That is a great word, competent, because she does succeed in times where success is within her capabilities, and she fails at other times. She is not a Rey Palpatine that is the bestest ever at everything and can do no wrong.
Who trains Mario, and Mario fails every step of the way. And after Mario fails, she says, you were close enough, I guess. No kidding. Mario fails. And then she's like, well, I couldn't train you, sorry, but I guess we'll bring you anyway. And then when...
That does happen, but he is being far more overzealous about how it happens. Mario has an entire training arc, and he kills it at the end and makes one small slip up, and Peach is like, even though you didn't completely pass the training, I'm taking you with me. That one small slip up, that's not a woke thing, that's not to show that Peach is the best, that she's a girl boss. It's a reference to the games, because it happens in every Mario game. You're so close to the end of the level. You've tried the level 100 times, because Mario games are all about repeating the level to get better and better. It's all about that memorization of where the Goombas are, where the question blocks are, things like that. Mario gets this close to the end, and then he screws up. Because that's what happened to every single Mario gamer out there. You think you got this, you've been in a flow state, you're almost there at the end of the level, and then you screw up and die, and you gotta start over again. The movie was referencing a situation that all the players, all the fans that have spent time playing these games has gone through. He's reading into this far too much. It is supposed to impact you and your memories of things that have happened to you while playing the game. So it actually does have a deep meaning, Mario, failing at that moment, but not in the same way that Timmy Boy here is saying it does. This is Leon at 2:15 in the morning editing this, and I've realized that Tim just repeats himself a lot in this video, and as such, I repeated myself a lot in responding to all those criticisms. So I'm going to cut this video at like 20-30 minutes. That way you don't get a lot of him repeating and me repeating, because basically he just keeps reiterating as he goes through the film the same woke stuff over and over, and I keep just explaining how it's not woke. But you already got that if you've gotten up to this point. So there's one more thing that I'm going to let play after this, then I'm going to give my final thoughts, so please do stick around for those. I'd love that watch time. Plus, there's a little bit more you hadn't heard yet. But other than that, if it seems a little disjointed, it's because I cut like an hour off this video because I don't really think you guys needed it. But yeah, that's what I've got for that. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
And you're like, okay. And the music's playing, like, I need a hero or whatever. And then she's like, well, are you ready to go? And Mario's like, but I'm a failure and I couldn't do it. And she goes, well, you're right, but I guess we have no choice.
Not what happens. He's either misremembering the movie, which is what I'm going to credit here, or he's flat out lying. That being said, never attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity first. What actually happens is Peach says, wow, you don't know when to give up, and Mario sadly says, yeah, I guess that's a good thing. And Peach excitedly says, no, that's the best thing. Like she is seeing in Mario what his own family didn't see at the beginning, that Mario doesn't quit, that Mario doesn't give up. Peach doesn't just be like, yeah, you're the best we got, let's go. Peach is astounded at Mario's inability to quit. Peach doesn't, build Mario up, make him be like, oh, you're great, whatnot. Peach doesn't affirm Mario like some sort of girl boss does to another girl boss in a woke movie. Peach is astounded at Mario. She does see in him something that he doesn't see, but it blows her away that she cannot believe that someone is so unwilling to give up. That is why she's taking Mario with her. She sees the grit and determination and the fact that Mario is not going to stop until he is able to do what needs to be done to save his brother.
Anyway, I'm not going to rant on this because it's already been a half an hour, but this is my point. My point in all of this is not to do a step-by-step review of the movie, but to point out that I'm just sick of the look, man, I like Charlie Kirk, I like Jack, I like Crowder, of course, I think they're good dudes, but they didn't watch the movie. And all I see is them jumping on this narrative because it became the narrative for some reason.
No. It became a narrative that it wasn't woke, because that is true. This movie is not woke. Tim is trying to be the outlier here. He's trying to see stuff that isn't there. I think I've done my part already in proving that that is the case. No, all these conservatives that are saying this movie is anti-woke, they are also wrong. The movie's not anti-woke. It's just not woke. It's very much just an escapist movie. I've said that multiple times. Tim is an idiot. These conservatives who are saying that it's anti-woke are also idiots, and it's just a good, fun, escapist movie. And guys, that's all it really needed to be. I mean, Mario, we all know who Mario is. We all love Mario. We've all seen this movie. At least I assume if you made it to the end of this video, you've seen this movie. We know it's not woke, but really, I want to just poke holes in Tim's idiotic reasoning, because I wanted to make this statement to you. So if you made it this far, you're getting to the climax of this video, what I want you guys to know. People, whether it be on the left, the right, whatnot, they're going to look for anything that suits their narrative, that suits their agenda. Tim is somebody who's obsessed with politics and lives his life through a political lens, and that's fine. That's part of his job, that's part of his career. But that does not mean he's inherently correct about any of the stuff that happens in the culture war or in pop culture or in our nerd spaces. I like some of Tim's takes. I like some of the, his thoughts on Ukraine. I like some of, and others I don't. Some of his stuff about, taxation. Other times I don't. I think that with anybody, you want to take an individual approach to certain ideas and find out, okay, what's good here, what's bad here, and, treat your politics like a buffet. What you don't need to do is sit there and inject your politics where they clearly don't exist. And there are no politics in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. That's one of the most refreshing things about it. There's been no politics in it. It was the first bit of good, fun, apolitical escapism I've experienced in quite some time, and I hope that you guys got the same out of Mario as I did, because I'll be honest, guys, I don't see how this is woke, and Tim's review, if you want to call it that, was flat out wrong, and I think we blew plenty of holes in it. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below, or you can let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am over that 700 subscriber mark. In fact, we're almost to 750, 800, right around there. So I would really appreciate the subscription. Let's get to 1,000. I can only do this because of you guys. So thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I am a nerdy news channel. I do nerdy news every day, not just about movies, but video games, Magic the Gathering, D&D, Star Wars, you name it. It's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.